Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Monday, November 21st, 2022. Stand up for your country. I got a little cold here. I'm going to get into that in the Smart Life segment tonight. I think you'll find it amusing how I actually got this cold. So I haven't had one in 10 years. I thought I had the magic formula too. But we have a lot to tell you about politically tonight, things that you have not heard. Number one, Friday. Whenever the federal government announces something on Friday, it means they really don't want a wide distribution. So Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, comes out last Friday and says he's appointing a special prosecutor to investigate Donald Trump on two things: January 6th and the classified documents that showed up in Mar-a-Lago. Okay, I don't know why they had to release that on a Friday, late Friday, but got enough attention. You know about it, I'm sure. And there's a lot more to this, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. First of all, the special prosecutor is a man named Jack Smith. He is currently working in The Hague in the Netherlands, investigating war criminals overseas. I don't know much about him. Conservatives are giving him a hard time about Lois Lerner, things like that. I don't know. I'll find out, but I assume this guy is competent. I assume he's a John Durham type, but I don't know. But anyway, he's in charge, right? Now, so Garland does this knowing that there are going to be unintended consequences. So Garland doesn't want to be part of those, but he is. So he could have kept the case in January 6th. In particular, all the January 6th committee had to do is hand over what they have to Garland, and then FBI goes through it and says, hey, is there anything indictable? That's all he had to do. But he didn't. Remember, the January 6th committee in the House operated for 18 months. 18 months. Leaked everything. Convicted, condemned Donald Trump. So now we need another year on top of that? I don't know why. The Mar-a-Lago documents thing, if you got something, it's not hard. Show the American people what the documents are that Trump took and why they are important enough to make such a big deal out of it. That should take 2 minutes. FBI knows what they took. Garland knows what they have. No, we got to have another special prosecutor and another $30 million investigation. And, oh, yeah, we got to do that. Makes no sense at all. But here's the kicker. And I think Merrick Garland is not smart enough to understand what he did. In order to investigate Donald Trump's actions on or before January 6th that led to the riot at the Capitol, okay, you have to bring in the FBI. Because it's now been established by none other than the New York Times and other press that at least 8 informants were in D.C. as part of that mob. Okay? So Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, is asked about this on November 15th by Congressman Clay Higgins. Go.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no. Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol.
Gentleman's time has expired.
You should not read anything into my decision not to share information.
Director Wray.
He's right. I mean, the Congress is right. If it's no, you just say no. But it isn't no. So now, Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, has to get into that. Does Garland understand that if it's shown, that if evidence says the FBI knew about this incursion before it happened and didn't tell anybody, or actually encouraged it, that blows up the Justice Department. blows up the whole department. So yeah, Donald Trump, you can investigate him. We all know the story. He acted far too slowly to condemn the riot. There's no doubt that's true. Is that a crime? No. And it's on the record the day before he had a meeting with the Pentagon that he recommended bringing the National Guard in. That creates reasonable doubt on his intentions on January 6th. Those are in stone, those two things. They're not debatable issues. But the FBI being involved in the actual mob, with the actual mob, that's new. And Wray would not say. And there's no reason on earth for him. If the FBI didn't have anybody there, he goes, no, we didn't have anybody there. Does it compromise anything? Does it? What does it compromise? No, we didn't have anybody there? Doesn't compromise anything. So you got to assume based on that and the reportage on other press people, they did have people there, the FBI. So now those people are going to have to be part of the investigation into Trump. Have to be. Did you tell the Trump administration, anybody, that this could happen beforehand? Those are the questions that have to be asked to the FBI. I'm telling you, Garland made a huge mistake, enormous mistake, by outcropping this. He didn't have to do it. He did it. And now the Democratic apparatus, the Biden administration, is in trouble. And that's not the worst thing. So the backlash from this Trump move is going to now encourage House Republicans to investigate Joe Biden and Hunter. So you're going to have dueling investigations. You're going to have the Justice Department on Trump. You're going to have the House committees on Joe and Hunter. And you know there's no presumption of innocence in this country. So you hate Trump, you think he's guilty. You hate Biden, you think he's guilty. So leaks will be every day. Leaks from the committees in the House, leaks from the special prosecutor's investigation. Every day. You're going to get leak, dueling leaks. Now, the Biden administration will collapse, and I use that word literally, if the House committee can find that Hunter Biden gave money to his father while Joe Biden was vice president. If that can be established, that collapses the entire administration because Joe Biden did not put that money on his tax return. That's a felony. Felony. You can only give $12,000 to someone else as a gift without a tax penalty. So I'm telling you, this story is enormous. The implications are through the roof on both sides. It's going to be an interesting year, and it will affect the 2024 election. Who runs, all of that. But we're going to cover this fairly. We do give presumption of innocence to both Trump and Biden. That's what we give. And if they have evidence, we'll present it to you, and I will give you my opinion whether it's solid or not. But oh my God, when I saw that Friday, I went, Merrick Garland's crazy. He has now lost control of the entire process. At least if he were in charge of the investigation himself, he could come to some kind of rational conclusion. He can't now. All right, we have a great guest today, by the way. Hang tough. I got one more segment before we get to him. So 5 House races haven't been called yet. 2 weeks. It's just unbelievable. 4 in California, 1 in Alaska. Alaska, not even going to bother with. They can't count their votes in Alaska. Cannot do it. All right? Second least populated state in the union next to Wyoming. They can't count their votes. They got some arcane system. So there will be a Democratic congresswoman from Alaska. That will happen because 2 Republicans ran against her and they split the vote. But race in California 22nd Congressional District, David Valdeo, 53% Republican, Rudy Salas, 47%, 86% of the vote counted. So they still haven't, after 2 weeks, counted 14% of the vote. Anyway, Valdeo is well ahead. So you put that in the Republican side. 3rd Congressional District in California, Kevin Kiley, Republican, way ahead of Kermit Jones. 71% counted. Are you kidding me? 71% after 2 weeks? What are you, 5th graders doing this? It's such a scandal. 13th California Congressional District. This is close. Duarte, the Republican, 50.3%. Adam Gray, the Democrat, 49.6%. 95% of the total voted. So you got to figure that Duarte will win. So that's 3 seats that go to the Republicans. And the final one is Colorado, where Lauren Boebert, the flamethrower, won by a little bit with 99% of the vote counted. And Adam Frisch, the Democrat, has conceded to Lauren. So it's another one. So that adds up to 222 for the Republicans. More than enough to control the House, as you know. There is a concerted effort to intimidate and silence conservative thinkers, rewrite American history, and replace our God-given individual liberty with big government controls. The very freedoms secured by our Constitution are now being threatened by the most liberal leftists our nation has ever seen. They have failed to secure our borders, weakened our position on the global stage, are trying to indoctrinate and corrupt our children in school, and the list goes on and on. But there are plenty of patriots with the courage to stand up to the far left. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization in the USA. I am a member, and I hope you will join as well. AMAC members have access to money-saving benefits, a robust website and mobile app, and a magazine filled with all kinds of great content. So please join AMAC today at amac.us and tell them O'Reilly sent you. That's amac.us. So let's bring in a guy who probably knows Congress better than any human being on the planet. Senator Joseph Lieberman obviously served in Connecticut. And how long were you in the Senate? I should have it here on my sheet, but I do not. How long?
Hi, Bill. 24 years.
Okay. And that's a scolding of my staff, which is usually good, but they should have that here. So let's go with the scandal of the election, then we'll go into Merrick Garland first. Okay. Shouldn't there be federal oversight, marshals or somebody sent into these districts who will not count the vote?
Well, there ought to be something. I mean, every time I see it in the papers or on TV, I'm shocked that they're still counting votes. I guess it's because they're paper ballots in California. And Alaska, I know they have this, as you said, arcane ranked voting system, which is complicated. But I mean, this is the 21st century. It just doesn't make sense that it takes 2 weeks. You could, I'm not sure what you can do, but it's worth thinking about, because there definitely are different ways in which the federal government, through legislation, has entered the area of state elections, particularly for Congress, after all. It's the national legislature, and could set some standards about what you do when you get to this point.
Well, they can provide, look, you have been around long enough to know that in some districts in the South, they were disenfranchising African-American voters. Certain counties were doing all kinds of things. The federal overseers went in, to those counties and arrested people.
Right.
And the power of the federal government is to oversee the vote counts in the individual states, because the states, according to the Constitution, have the power to run the elections the way they want. But if they're crooked or incompetent, then the feds have to go in.
Yeah, and look, the problem here is we're obviously operating at a time in our history where a lot of people don't trust the counting of votes. So the longer you go, the
Yeah,
more people are going to say,
it's
"What's going
crazy.
on out there?"
That's
I mean,
right.
it's more time for playing around with the results. It's and the comparison to the old segregation of the South, unfortunately, is apt. So
Yeah,
this
you're
is
absolutely right.
unacceptable. Bottom
And
line.
and you know, look, when the House is so close, and means everything. This is everything now between the Democratic and Republican parties. And just as an aside, there's going to be real trouble in Maricopa County, Arizona, which is another troubled state over the Kari Lake thing. But I'm going to put that aside for now. All right, let's get to the Merrick Garland announcement. Do you think my analysis has any merit?
Your analysis, as always, or usually always, was thought-provoking. So I will tell you, Merrick Garland was not thinking at all. I know him a little bit. I don't know him well, as you are thinking now. He's thinking, I got two choices I can make here. I got these two really intensely political topics to investigate because they came to my office. I can either drop them and say there's no evidence to proceed with prosecution, or I got to get them to somebody else, because after all, I'm investigating not only the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, but now a declared candidate for reelection. So I can't do it without people saying I'm politically biased. So there you go to Jack Smith, who I don't know either, but he seems like he's a professional. I give him two pieces of unsolicited advice. One is you compare. I know Durham very well because he's from Connecticut, and a great prosecutor, a real pro, not a politician at all. He did one thing that was really important that others had not done in that position. He laid low. He was not. He didn't talk to the press at all, which is what Smith ought to do. The second is that unlike previous independent counsels like Lawrence Walsh, Iran-Contra, Ken Starr, Clinton, which went on so long that they cost enormous amounts of money, Jack Smith ought to get this done as quickly as he can, in large part because of what you said, Bill. These files are full of the result of investigations that have already gone on in Congress and other prosecutors' office. So I be quiet and act quickly, and that's the best thing you can do.
Quickly and honestly, because
And
look, there's already a suspicion about Merrick Garland because Hunter Biden's case has been going on for more than 2 years. And it sits in Delaware with the federal prosecutor not doing anything. He's amassed it, so either charge or not charge. Don't just sit there with nothing. And so you talk about people not having any faith in the system, Senator. My God, it doesn't take that long. It's a tax beef primarily against Hunter Biden. All right? That's what it is. It doesn't take 2 years. And now the grand jury is not even sitting anymore. All of that stuff remains in Wilmington, Delaware. So where's Merrick Garland on that?
Apparently nowhere that I've heard, and I haven't followed it real closely. But hey, this is likely, I mean, definite investigation of the Hunter Biden case by the next Congress is proof that even though the outcome in the House was much less of a Republican wave than people were predicting, there are big changes that are going to occur as a result of the margin, which looks like, as you said, Bill, it's going to be about 222 to 213. It could have been a 1 vote or 2 vote margin. The Speaker controls the agenda. Republicans are in charge of the committees. The investigation of Hunter Biden wouldn't have happened if the Democrats controlled the House.
Absolutely not. But now it's on steroids because of what Garland did to Trump. Because Jordan and all those guys who are going to spearhead this are going, okay, you're going after our guy, we're going to go after your guy. But even worse is the FBI component. I don't think Garland even thought about it. Because in the January 6th investigation, Smith has got to look into the FBI's conduct. Why didn't the FBI if they had 8 undercovers tell Pelosi or Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., or the White House, what the deuce was going to happen. That's huge.
Yeah, I assume, as you do, that the fact that FBI Director Wray didn't answer the question was because the answer was yes. I don't particularly mind it. Frankly, if it had been a left-wing Antifa push into the Capitol, I would like to feel that there were some law enforcement people inside there. But it's a very relevant question for Jack Smith, and we ought to know the answer to it.
That's
some
right.
people will be encouraged by it. Some will not.
And none of this is good for the country, by the way, because it just divides people like crazy. For the next year,
Right.
as I said, we're just going to leak and leak and leak and leak. You got a sitting president who, if it's true that his son gave him money, he's done. That whole thing collapses. And if they can prove that Trump did something that we're not aware of, because the January 6th committee put out everything they have, I didn't see any crime there. Misjudgment, absolutely. So the country is going to be in turmoil for the next year over these things. Last word.
I agree. I mean, look, in the best of all worlds, we wouldn't be going through this. And there is a tit for tat quality to this that never seems to end at this phase of American history, because we're always thinking about the next election. It's not, instead of the next generation, what's good for the country. I'm giving unsolicited advice. I say to Jim Jordan, you're going to do this investigation. Try to make it as factual and respectable as you can, because if it's just, as you used the term flame throwing, if it's just about somebody else, if it's just flame throwing, it's not going to have credibility, and it's just going to divide the country more. There's a reasonable question to investigate here. Incidentally, as compared to the June 6th Commission, although they had Cheney and Kinslinger on it, assuming that the Judiciary Committee of the House conducts the investigation, there will be Democrats on that committee. So in a way, it's not going to be bipartisan, but there will be bipartisan involvement in it. And hopefully they can figure out a way to work together and think about what the law requires and what's good for the country.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It has to be fact-based. It can't be just bomb throwing and all of that. Hey,
Amen.
Senator, I want you to have a happy Thanksgiving with your family, and you're really kind to help us out, and I really appreciate it.
I really enjoyed being with you. Let me say about your cold that I had it last week, and praise the Lord, it does get better.
Right now, I'm mad at the Lord, but I'm going to praise him soon, and then it'll get better.
Give him a second chance.
All right, Senator, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Take care. Be well.
Just one footnote. I was on a Hannity radio program today because he's off on Wednesday, and so am I. We did talk about some of these issues. You might want to check that out on BillO'Reilly.com. That's where we live. Inflation at its highest level in 40 years. Interest rates skyrocketing. We all know that. Market experts like Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, not only predict a recession, but are using scary terms like economic hurricane and unprecedented. So, you need to call the only precious metal dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They will show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. Please call them today, and they will have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA or 401k. They have thousands of satisfied customers. They're the highest rated firm in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. Please call 866-501-5201, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Okay, final thought of the day, Thanksgiving. Now, most people don't ever think about what they're going to do on Thanksgiving other than watch the football game or maybe play a little touch football. Right? But they don't think about how they're going to present themselves at dinner. And this is a big mistake. So if you are hosting Thanksgiving dinner or traveling to someone else's home, Number one, you got to know who's going to be there. Okay, is there an annoyer? Is there somebody there who's going to be provocative? It's going to be, who's there? Got to know the roster, okay? And then you develop a game plan. How are you going to present yourself on Thanksgiving? Are you going to be bellicose? It's a good word of the day, right? Word of the day, bellicose. See how I worked it in? Or are you going to be kind of just happy, the happy guy or gal? It's Thanksgiving. You don't really want to talk about how great Joe Biden's doing on the border. You know, I know it's hard. I know it's hard. But it doesn't matter. So if you got somebody in the crew who's just picking, looking for a little, ignore them. Make a joke out of it. Make a joke out of it. But you have to know this before you go in, because there's so much stuff coming at people on these Thanksgiving celebrations. If you got kids that are running around and doing this and doing that, but you have to kind of almost hypnotize yourself into the presentation zone, I call it. And you got to say, this is what, nobody's going to shake me out of it. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be happy. This is a grand traditional occasion for our country. Of course, we all have things to be thankful for. Maybe we talk a little history. Maybe we talk a little sports. Maybe we talk a little entertainment. Maybe we talk the no spin news. This is what O'Reilly's got. It's shocking to me that I'd say half the country doesn't even know the no spin news is on. It's just crazy. That kind of thing. But you've got to really know how to present yourself and stay in the discipline zone. No matter what crazy Larry says, it just doesn't matter. As Bill Murray once said in the movie Meatballs, it just doesn't matter. Thanks for watching and listening to the No Spin News. We'll see you tomorrow. If you are stuck in a timeshare and you haven't called Lone Star Transfer yet, what are you waiting for? Lone Star Transfer has helped more than 16,000 happy customers. They are family-owned, have a 99% success rate. Their process is done legally, ethically, and quickly. I mean, does it get better than that? The team at Lone Star Transfer will keep you informed every step of the way until you are legally and permanently released from your timeshare. So, don't pay another penny for a timeshare you don't use. Get peace of mind today with Lone Star Transfer. They guarantee the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. Give Lone Star Transfer a call for a free no-obligation consultation. 855-551-7066, 855-551-7066, or online at lonestartransfer.com.